and opinions expressed during the show.
Welcome back. You're listening to News Radio 92.3 AM 1620, and it's time to chat with our friends at Escambia County Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Amber.
Good morning. Thank you for having us on. We always love coming in, and so glad that you're here and doing the show now.
Thank you so much. It's been very enlightening and encouraging, and I get to meet people like you guys to
and
come
learn
in.
So many different topics.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's
Especially we just had Kevin in from Santa Rosa County, and learning that that type of technology is going to come in and serve our area. They're kind of like a guinea pig a little bit, but being able to know that there are things happening behind the scenes to make our lifestyles better, our community safer, a more of a rapid response when it comes to emergencies, I'm all about it. And I know that just in the past, I mean, we're entering month 3 of 2021, and Sheriff Simmons has started rolling with the changes within Escambia County, and we have our amazing new-ish, you're still pretty much new to being chief deputy.
That's what we were just talking about. Only 2 months, but you know, it feels like forever. I think that's because we've always known you in a law enforcement role here in our community.
Yeah, so of course I was working on 31 years with the city of Pensacola, retired as a chief of police. Before I went over to the sheriff's department, I've been there 2 months, but like you had mentioned, all the bad guys are the same. All of our wonderful community leaders that we engaged at the Pensacola Police Department are involved, and we're engaging them with the Sheriff's Department. And then, of course, all of the Sheriff's deputies that I've known over the 30 years are there. So it wasn't much of a transition for me. It didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a continuation of what we were doing with the Pensacola Police Department. And, of course, I'd worked with Sheriff Simmons 25 years or so, and he's been a mentor for me for just about my entire career. So I was thankful for the opportunity to continue my career working for Sheriff Simmons. And you had mentioned it, he is driven. That man is the hardest working man in law enforcement.
It is crazy, the ideas that he comes up with, and it's so interesting to watch how we all just are like, yes, sir, and come together and implement these amazing plans. I mean, you hit the ground running 2 months, and we've done so much.
Yeah, that's it. His leadership. He has a very, very clear vision of what he wants, where he wants to take the sheriff's department and what the services he wants to provide to our citizens. And it's just his leadership style that we get everybody on board and headed in the right direction.
I think they need you to change mics real
for
quick.
some reason that mic just decided to not work on me anymore, so I apologize for that. But we are going to backtrack to just sharing your story, Chief Deputy Leiter. And honestly, when I moved here years ago, you were one of the first names everybody just started sharing, and especially when I started volunteering. Everybody just knew your heart and your soul to make this city and make our community thrive has just shined through. So I want to say that right off the bat, as somebody who's not native to Pensacola, everybody has just been, yes, he's the guy. Like, he's the one. So I'm serious. I'm very, very excited and honored to be able to share this time with you and to be able to have our listeners get to know you better on this platform and how you're helping assist Sheriff Simmons to thrive in our community.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really do appreciate that. I'm blessed to work in a profession that I love. I absolutely love what I do. I look forward to going to work in the morning. I get excited about it on the weekends and after hours. And again, to work for an agency and in a community that is giving and supportive of law enforcement, and as Escambia County is a wonderful position to be in. It's kind of that perfect sweet spot in law enforcement.
Yeah, you've only been here for about 2 months. We were talking about that on the way here, and just so much has happened in the past 2 months under the direction of Sheriff Simmons. We were talking about he just has these amazing ideas, and he's put together a team that can implement what he's thinking of or what he's wanting to do in our community. And it's so great to see these ideas actually come to fruition and see. We've had 2 precincts open
Yes.
just so quickly.
So awesome.
And the events that we were able to have for both of those, just coming out of COVID a little bit, we're all starting to come out of that, some, hopefully more in the future, and to see these things kind of come through. And Chief Lauder, you've just been such an instrument in helping with a lot of that stuff. What are some other things that you plan on bringing to the sheriff's office that we might be able to start seeing in the future?
The sheriff's vision was this. His words were, we're going to, you'll see outreach like you've never before. Mm-hmm. This community involvement and community engagement. He wanted a 400% increase. He said 4 times what we're doing right now. Yeah. That's what we're going to roll out. So a lot of what we've done in the community services, just transferring the personnel in that. Mm-hmm. You'd mentioned the opening of the precincts, and if you're listening to it, it sounds like it's a great idea, but right. The work that went into doing that, they were mothballed for years, mm-hmm. and just we don't own the building, so you have to engage the Escambia County. They were wonderful to work with. Yeah. But you think about all of the renovations that went into it, mm-hmm. and then all of the office space, and then the personnel. It all comes down to people. We know that. There's not a software program or right. a piece of equipment that's going to replace a person. So you handpick these right people. Mm-hmm. Tony Tampere out at Perdido Key. He was the perfect lieutenant for Perdido Key. We went to high school together. I've known him. He grew up out there. He knows all of the people out there.
We had him on the show last time. And
so you know him.
Yes. So
and
he
then
was able to
a lieutenant up on the north end,
yep.
Molino. You just have to put the right people in those positions. And that's what I think the first couple of weeks, first couple of months we've been doing is you've got to get that right team in place. Yeah. And then you start rolling out a lot of the programs. COVID, of course, hampers us a little bit,
right.
to a certain extent. Once we lift that, you're going to see a lot more of that outreach stuff. But we've been blessed so far in the first 2 months mm-hmm. to do everything that we've done, and we're leaning heavy into the summer. We're already having those conversations, and it's a lot of excitement and buzz at the sheriff's mm-hmm. department, and I think in the community as well, just in this anticipation of what we've got coming in the summertime.
Seeing that community involvement in some of these programs starting to come back. Yes, I'm excited to see what we're going to do this summer. I know that we've been working on some things and hoping that we're going to be able to implement them. So as soon as these programs start to come together and we start advertising them, I'm going to bring them right here on News Radio, let you guys know where they're going to be and how you can get involved with your sheriff's office. We'll also put it out on our social media so you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and on our website at escambiaso.com. As a matter of fact, we're live right now on our Facebook Live, so anybody that has any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them right down there. We'll try to answer them the best way we can, and if we can't, we'll get them to the best person suited to answer it. You can always email me at pio@escambiaso.com. If you send the email there, I will get it to the right person to help get you in contact. We already have a couple people saying good morning, and good morning back to everybody. We hope you have a great day. It's beautiful weather outside, so I think
perfect.
We're seeing people kind of enjoying that a little more today. And then they can always call and text
too. Please feel free to call or text in 437-1620. We would love to chat with you. We've got everything up and running now, so you're fine. Technical difficulties happen, y'all, so just hold tight. We adjust. We pivot. We've learned this. We're becoming professional pivoters at this point. I do have a question. Is there... And maybe this is more of like a DOT thing, but I know y'all work hand in hand together, especially with just the surge in, I feel like, traffic accidents. And it's not just on like Garcon Point in Santa Rosa County. It's starting to happen more. Is this due to spring break that we're seeing just over the last couple of weeks? More people coming to visit, or is it people moving here and not knowing how to drive?
People are now leaving. The COVID restrictions are lifting a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think people are much more comfortable now getting out of the homes. It's been almost a year where there's much nicer, this mild weather. So I think there's definitely an increase in the number of people that are on the roadways. So percentage-wise, if you looked at it from a percentage, I don't know that we've had a huge spike in traffic crashes from that perspective. But, you're going to put exponentially more people on the road. Your traffic crashes will increase. But it is, we say one of our largest threats to public safety is a traffic crash. Yeah. Highway Patrol works all of the crashes in Escambia County. Yeah. We still do a portion of it, but we are incredibly busy just doing what we're doing on a daily basis, the call volume that our deputies are handling every day. So it's a little different in the city. Our responsibility in the city was traffic, so we worked traffic crashes. real heavy in traffic enforcement. So it's a little different animal in this in that the state, the Florida Highway Patrol, and they do a great job with it. They got their hands full as well. So
Yeah, I bet.
We're starting to get a couple questions on Facebook. We've got Sean asking, will the ECSO be able to increase its traffic division? Is that something you guys are looking into?
yeah, so we're looking at yes, to answer your question directly. That's something that we have our eyes on. Community Services Division, that's something that we want to increase. We want to increase our HIP, the High Intensity Patrol. That was kind of the flip side of this engagement is this zero tolerance for violent crime. So we're going to address the violent crime concerns that we have in Escambia County, and part of that are these high intensity patrol. We've got to staff our uniform patrol division at levels that are, so they can, it's not just answering calls for service, that they can get out there and be proactive. Last weekend, the weekend before, we had the special detail. We call it like this overtime detail is the first one, and that I'm aware of that took place there. And we put there was like 35 additional deputies out on the street on a Friday and Saturday night. It was very focused on, it wasn't just a shotgun approach where we're going to go in and occupy neighborhoods. It was focused on our bad guys and these target locations. We're rolling that out again this weekend. Of course, spring break's coming up, so we'll double the number of deputies out at Pensacola Beach. We're doubling the number of deputies that are working on the weekend, Friday and Saturday evening time, and throughout the week as well, some of those nights. So it's more than double, and these deputies are not answering the calls for service. It's a proactive policing, and we're targeting, we're collecting all of the intel over the last couple of weeks, and we're targeting certain neighborhoods, certain individuals. We're out looking for them. So
these are in addition to the patrol deputies that are already out there working those calls for service whenever you're calling 911 or the non-emergency line. You've got those. These are extra deputies in addition to being proactive.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's really the only way. I'd mentioned before, there's not a software program or a piece of equipment that can replace, an alert deputy. If you're going to take a bite out, if you're really going to take a stance on violent crime, you have to have good guys confronting bad guys. That's the end of the story. You have to have green uniforms in the neighborhoods and standing in these parking lots and confronting the bad guys. That's just old-fashioned police work. And Sheriff Simmons is committed to that. So.
And I think if you follow our social media, you've seen some of these arrests that we're putting out. You're seeing that we're putting a little more of what they are doing out there. And if you don't, it's because we're gathering the intel and everything, and you will be seeing it shortly. I mean, it will be out there into the public. We're being a little more open with what we're doing. Yeah,
much more transparent. I think you put out a press release on a search warrant that we did, and methamphetamine and cocaine and crack cocaine and guns and money. And, it's great. It's a wonderful success story. But the man hours that went into that one search warrant, if you can imagine just the investigative work that it took to get there, we're doing that every day, every night, all day. And that's, we have wonderful deputies that are dedicated to narcotics investigations. And narcotics drives, it's the underlying cause of the vast majority of our violent crimes driven by narcotics. So we are increasing the size of the narcotics unit, and that's moving forward on that. So
something I know you've been working on since you've gotten there is a grant with our bikes, and that's been able to help with pedestrian safety as well, kind of touching on what Jenna was talking about a little bit. And we've gone out in a couple of these and have approached people in certain areas and neighborhoods and kind of helped them learn how to be a little more careful when they're riding their bicycles or when they're walking around traffic, some high traffic areas where we see people walking.
Yeah, it's HVE, High Visibility Enforcement Campaign. I still am on the state commission, the state board. I was, as the Chiefs Association, I was their rep. And I was very thankful that when I was, I'm now the chief at the Escambia County Sheriff's Department, the chief deputy, that I was able to keep those positions. And that's part of that HVE, High Visibility Enforcement. And it's really an education campaign. So we have free bicycle lights. We'll do free bicycle helmets, and you stop somebody that maybe, at nighttime, they're driving without the lights or driving without the helmets, or they're out in the middle of traffic. It's just an opportunity to stop, to educate them about the dangers, give them the light, give them the helmets, whatever the equipment that we have, and then send them on their way. And it turns this, maybe a negative contact or no contact into a very positive response. We're getting a lot of positive response from the citizens about that program.
Drew, that's hilarious. We asked the question at the same time he was asking. Drew on Facebook was asking about the HVE at the same time I was asking, so he must be reading my mind.
Yeah, high visibility. And the wonderful, it's funded. It's a state grant. It's funded through the state, so it costs us. The lights are free. The training was free, and the manpower, now they're paying for the overtime to send the deputies out to have these comments or contacts. And it's just part of what the sheriff envisioned with this increased enforcement and enhancement, community engagement. It's funny, when I first sat down with Sheriff Simmons, when we had that discussion about what we were going to do, what it was that he expected from me and kind of what I was expecting when I got there. And his first thing is, we are going to be the premier law enforcement in the state. We're going to be the best sheriff's department, and period. I said, okay, that's I'm in.
Let's do it.
You're sold. And then this is what that's going to look like. And it was very clearly defined what he envisioned. You'd mentioned the precinct openings, and it was more this really kind of the atmosphere with we had the horses out there and all of the SWAT equipment, and we fed people. And we're going to probably do like a movie night, have a movie screen, and we're going to take that model and really get out into the community this spring and this summer. And
I love it so much.
Yeah,
this
and some of the community
why
parks.
I signed up to come on. I love being out in the community. I love meeting new people. I love the way that we can help people by being out there and having a face-to-face with them. I'm so excited to hear a lot of these plans and can't wait to see what it is that we can all do together. When it was announced that Chief Leiter was coming over, so excited. And I can speak for some of us there at the sheriff's office. When Sheriff Simmons says we are going to be the premier law enforcement agency in the area, you see people, their heads are held high. We're walking around now, and we've seen some of these changes, and it's for the good. There's a lot of positive going on in the community, and we're just so excited to see it carry through.
Oh, yeah. And just piggybacking on safety and having our good guys, and the best guys, we'll say now, out in the community, what kind of precautionary measures or plans do y'all have in place for the upcoming spring break and summer season? Just because, like we talked about before, everything's starting to open up.
Well, Florida is open. And so, I think we just saw this week in the headlines, Disney World is booked.
Good
which
for
is,
them.
For spring break. So we are seeing more and more visitors coming to Florida because we are open. So that is something that Chief Leiter was just talking about, adding those extra deputies out there to be more proactive, to make sure people are safe. Having that HVE out there to make sure when people are here and they're walking and being pedestrians, they're understanding that our road safety tips that we have and getting out there.
We met with I think it was the Chamber of Commerce out there at Pensacola Beach. So a lot of the business owners and homeowners that provide rentals, we were invited to that meeting, and we spoke to them about, don't rent to these 22-year-old college kids and with the house parties, and be available. There should be somebody we can contact at 3 a.m. where you rent to somebody, and it just gets sideways. And there's these huge house parties that we all went to college and high school, so what I'm talking about.
Right.
When they get out of hand, we need to have a contact with somebody, the owner, that has the authority to say that's not what these aren't who I rented to.
Right.
They were restricted the number of people, and that they can shut it down. So we that worked for us last year. We modeled that again this year. And again, we'll have double the number of deputies out there. Having the bridge shut down complicates it a little bit for everybody. Certainly, if we need to send more additional officers out there, it's a much longer drive. So we're going to staff it on the front end in anticipation of just an increased crowd.
That was something
there.
I was going to touch on. We all now are aware of the difficulties it is to go visit our neighbors in Santa Rosa County or over to our beautiful beach, Pensacola Beach. It is a little bit of a pain for everybody. But that was something I was going to ask you. How do we plan on combating that as a sheriff's office? Because that beach is our territory, and that's where we need to be out patrolling. So that's perfect. So we're going to be on it on the front end.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's not – I like the fact that the sheriff reached out to him, and it's not just our burden in law enforcement. It really is this partnership with the business owners, with the residents out there, and the rental properties especially, because they got beat up last year with the COVID restrictions.
Bless their hearts, COVID, hurricane, bridge out.
And we don't want to stifle that at the sheriff's department. I hope everybody just books everything out, and you get to rent all of your property. And there's a flip side to that, obviously, which is with these house parties that are a concern to us and the underage drinking. So we're aware of it. We're staffing up to it, and we'll be out there. You'll see an increased presence for sure from law enforcement.
We're getting another question about has the ECSO thought about bringing back a helicopter for rescue, protection, or pursuit?
With really the increase in the drone programs now, I would be surprised if we got back in the helicopter business. That's really more of a question probably for Sheriff Simmons.
Right.
But it's just so costly. It's almost cost prohibitive. I will tell you, we are looking at drones.
That's the way of the future. That's where every other law enforcement agency is going right now.
We met this week, as a matter of fact, with Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Department, some of the deputies, to look at what they have. Of course, we had a drone program at the Pensacola Police Department, and then we're just going to, learn from some mistakes from other agencies. And it's just like any other technology. The technology that's available today is so much better than it was just a couple years ago when we kind of stepped into it at the Pensacola Police Department. So I think that's the future of law enforcement, is to more shy away from the helicopter programs and really into the drone, because you can get a drone for a couple $1,000s and own it, and then with the helicopter it'll cost more than that just to crank it up, is a couple $1,000.
Just the maintenance on those are crazy. Ridiculous.
So I don't think we're heading back into that. I would not anticipate getting a helicopter back. I think the solution to that hole that we have is really the drone program.
And drones, it's just so amazing. I've been looking to see what other law enforcement agencies use them for. They use them for missing people. I mean, searching for missing people, building grids for that, for looking for wanted fugitives that might be, fleeing on foot in a wooded area. You can use them for, it's just crazy the abilities the drones have and the areas they could get into that a helicopter might not.
Are you using them at all? I follow y'all on Facebook. I keep up, try to share missing persons as much as possible, because you see it, and we know that especially high risk youth tend to run. And I do appreciate that our sheriff's department is on it in being able to share those photos.
That was Sheriff Simmons, one of his ideas. He said, hey, we're getting these missing children reports, all the time. And he said, I don't care. Let's get them out. I want them out. I want their pictures out. I want them everywhere. I want people to be able to see. And it's been so successful the way we've done it. They'll go on, some of them will go on the billboards, and our local media partners are so great in sharing when we put them out. We had a silver alert yesterday, and we put the gentleman's face out there on our social media and our billboards, and our local media partners were running his face. We were able to locate him and getting back to his family. So it's just been such an asset to us to be able to use social media like that in such a positive direction, and to help law enforcement be able to locate them. More eyes on things, the better. We all live and work here. We are wanting Escambia County to be the best place it can be. So the more eyes and ears that are out there, the better we can
absolutely
all be,
and
help solve.
Utilize social media as an effective tool, especially in these situations. Having worked in that, volunteered in that industry with missing children, there is that desperation that parents and guardians have. So when you have it out there and you're allowing the community to pretty much volunteer from their desks or their phones or wherever they're at, it brings our community closer. And I see most of the time it's a really positive.
I think a runaway juvenile will be a victim. It's not, they may get into trouble or find trouble. I've been doing this long enough, almost over 30 years, and a runaway juvenile will be a victim. And we talked about before off camera the human trafficking, especially you're going to get these young females that they'll fall into that trap early on at 15, 16 years old. It's amazing what one human being will do to another. So that's why I think the sheriff had mentioned, recognized that early on, just how dangerous it is for these juveniles. And it's, we have to take that serious.
Absolutely. When you hear some of these ages, they have no business being by themselves out alone. It's a scary place out there. When you're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds, they don't need to be alone. So we need to find them as quick as possible. And honestly, it is the help of the community. Most of the time they see these Facebook posts or they, see it on their local news, and they help us. They identify them. They get us to the right point. But sometimes it's the children themselves that see themselves and they're like, oops, I may have gone too far this time.
Right.
My face is everywhere. And then they end up showing back up. So it kind of works both ways around.
Right. It takes a village.
We're getting a question. Willie, can you please maybe explain your question a little more? Has there been any improvement to officer recruiting? And what aspect? We'd love to answer it, but if you could just maybe break that down a little more for me.
Yeah, officers. So we have no openings. which is unique in law enforcement to have 0 vacancies. In fact, we have a waiting list to come on.
We do.
And that's part of the, officers talk. Sheriff Simmons is, one of his initiatives was to take care of our people. We've got to provide competitive pay and benefits. We can't afford to lose officers to other agencies. That you get those competitive pay and benefits and let the culture of the agency kind of take over. And I think the culture that Sheriff Simmons is really cultivating at the Escambia County Sheriff's Department, the fact that we have 0 vacancies is telling.
I was in a training class not too long ago via Zoom, so it was sheriff's offices, law enforcement agencies across the country, and that was the biggest.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The House is on track to pass the Democrats' coronavirus stimulus bill this afternoon.
Not a single Republican has supported the American Rescue Plan. The GOP says the $1.9 trillion